back to another episode of Players and Protagonists. Today we got T, Kogra, Talisman Loa, and me. So on this episode of Ooh Tell 'em, we are going to be talking about anime and music. The music in anime, to be specific. So how does this affect us? How does music play a good part in getting that hype moment in anime, or maybe calming things down, or making us cry? Are there any musicians in anime that we're like, oh, when that person's there, we know it's going to be lit? The openings, the endings, all that. So let's get started. Let's get into it. Who wants to kick us off?
But yes, you can take over. Okay, so I was thinking of music that annoys me. Anything on One Piece annoys me. I feel like the music just annoying.
Hey,
wow.
Dang.
But I was thinking about Kaiju number 8. We were watching this when I was out there, and I was just noticing like the different scenes and like how I know this is about to be a battle, or this is about to be like some things are about to get towed up in this particular fight scene. I was watching Twisted Metal, which is not an anime right now, but it was a video game. But right now it is on TV, right? Live action. And there was a part where the main character goes, "This would be so cool if I had background music." And then, like music makes the scene a lot of times, I feel.
I have a few favorites, but you talking about that dude talking about this would be so hype if I had background music. It made me think about how a lot of times when they have hype moments happen in the anime, they play the main theme of the show. And I think that's really cool. I'm a sucker for that. I always enjoy it. Or like when a character has a very specific theme that always plays and everybody's like, oh, that's so-and-so's theme. They about to do their thing. Be it Giorno Giovanna or somebody else, right? I really like when they have a theme song that matches a character when they're about to have their triumphant moment.
Yeah, I definitely think that music can make a moment epic. You really feel how intense it is.
I agree. Yeah, no, I was just thinking about Bleach, because we were talking about people having their own theme songs, and Bleach does that a lot, where like all the characters have a theme song. But even the way they play with music, like we can go back and forth on how good overall Bleach is with other things, but I do like that the way they play with music. And the iconic scene when Ichigo's coming after Aizen, and Aizen like stops the music alone with his sword, right? And there's like different ways that they play with things, but that was just like such a hype moment that people still remember. So I feel like there's good ways that you can play with music within anime that really like escalates those moments. Or even when like Ichigo gets his lick back and the music comes back and it's like extra hype, like just coming back. There's like points where you do those callbacks using music too.
Let's see. Speaking of music, I was thinking about Creepy Nuts. They have been popping off with their anime music. I mean, everything from Dan to Dan, and there was a new anime that we were watching. Anybody remember?
With Creepy Nuts, they did the opening for
They did Mashle,
Mashle.
They did Mashle, right?
Yeah, but I feel like there was a newer anime
the one that sounds
maybe.
like an Afro beats.
Yeah,
they did the one that's on High Dive, Call of the
Call by Night or something.
Yeah,
they got Afro beats.
I think it's Call of the Night. Yo,
it does sound like Afro beats, really.
Yes, everyone go listen to Creepy Nuts' new song. I'll find the name of it, but it legit sounds like Afro beats.
Yeah, but Creepy Nuts has been going off, man.
Yeah, I think they're good because they kind of operate in the like music realm more as far as like the anime music goes, because like I'm just thinking about it like this: there's like the OST and there's like music that was like made to be a part of the entire anime, and the body of work, and then there's the like intro, outro, like those tracks, which sometimes are always a part of it, but also sometimes it's just like, this is the trailer, this is just the intro for the show, and it's not necessarily like it's tied to the identity of the show, but it's not necessarily always represented. So yeah, I think they're more like, oh, we're musician to this. That's at least what it feels like. I think they just do a good job of like being good musician. Their music, when tied together with something very stylistic, like Don Don, artistically, in that way, kind of like
King Gnu.
Yeah. Like, that's really
no,
good. And go ahead.
Oh no, I was just agreeing with you. I was going to say I agree. I think you can definitely tell with anime intros and outros when you're listening to somebody who's like, they've been a musician for a long time, who are now like getting into the anime space, versus sometimes sometimes you hear songs and you're like, that sounds like kind of just like, sorry, My Hero, but everything sounds like a cheesy anime opening with My Hero, right? Like it's an anime opening. Even artists that I like outside of My Hero, like Kenshi Yonezu is a great one. He's a great artist, but his music that he makes specifically for My Hero is like, this is an anime intro. And Creepy Nuts, even though they made their songs, like all of their songs were made specifically for that anime in mind, I think because they're diehard, they started as like underground musicians, a lot of that comes into the music that they created for their anime. And then same thing with King Gnu. They have been musicians for such a long time that have now been picked up as like, oh, they make good music for anime too, that I feel like they can incorporate their sound a little bit better than some of the ones that just kind of sound like generic intros.
That's hot. That's hot.
What about
it's like another level of musicality?
As an example, I was thinking of a good example of like a show, like an anime series that had the music that was like baked in, and it was like a part of the identity of the show, like the intro and outro. And I thought it actually reminded me one of my favorites of all time, and one that really struck me musically, especially with my current identity in that time period. Like the music that was in the anime really stood out, and I hadn't like seen or heard of like anime using music like that before. It was like really cool. But it's Fooly Cooly, and I feel like I'm pretty sure the band's name is The Pillows, and it was just like they had such a unique sound, but it was also like familiar, you know, being in that kind of like rock vibe. But a lot of the music, like the music played like they did a lot of like the actual themes for the anime itself, so they would play their music at critical moments in the plot, and it was like really cool to see that because I hadn't seen that before. Like, you know, up until then, like I had like maybe Samurai Champloo, maybe, I don't even know if I'd seen it yet. But like, you know, Cowboy Bebop had a lot of jazz, so it's like and you know, there's that too. But yeah, it was one of the first that I seen that implemented, oh, the band that's playing in the intro isn't just, they aren't just here for a little bit. Like their music is throughout the whole thing. And it impacted me, and it changed like music that I liked, and changed the influence of what I started to find. Because like even now, like that influence is there, and there's a lot of anime that do that. Yeah,
I was thinking that continuity is really cool to have, like, with not only having the progression of the anime that you're watching, but also having that music that sticks with it alongside of it. I think that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. I know if y'all saw our former video about music and video games, we kind of talked about the theme of the series or the theme of the video game popping up in other melodies throughout the soundtrack of the game. And I think it's cool when anime does that as well. And that's a good point that you brought up, because I wasn't even thinking of that, Tally.
So it brought me, thinking of three things. Dun 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 dun, dan, da dan, right? It reminds me, we remember when we did a video, and I'm sure we could post a link if you wanted to go back for reference, about openings and what shows have the best openings and what we liked, and we ranked them. And Don Da Don wasn't out then, but that I'd be jigging every time they come on. I'm like dun, dun, and it kind of makes me think about an ATL rap. I'm like dun 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 dun.
Now that's the one that's inspired by Jersey music, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Oh, I didn't even know that, but I know it's a vibe. I'd be like,
I can see Lil Uzi Vert dancing to it.
Yeah, there are some shows where I skip. There are some shows where I skip the intro, but Don Da Don, it's getting played out.
There's something that make you want to move. You know what I'm saying? That's good.
Yep. And then I thought about JoJo when they started doing the reverse, and they kind of start switching it like mid-season. You know something's about to go down. You know, you're like, this music's different. This episode's gonna change the next couple of episodes.
Yeah,
so
and
that's
it's a good way.
That gives you hype.
It keeps you, like you said, sometimes you just skip the intro because it's just the same old thing. But when people are intentional about using the music in that way, I think it keeps you, in tune with the music, with the whole show. And you're not as likely to skip things because they are showing you, like, this show is about to turn up because now we've added a whole nother chunk to this opening intro.
Like specials. Yeah, like for King Nu is like my personal, like I love them ever since they popped up on the scene. That's been like a band that I just follow whatever they're doing. And Daisuke Tsunada, who's like their lead, has his own spin-offs. He's like a composer and a bunch of other stuff. He also like does a lot of composition for shows that he works with. So it's kind of what you were saying, Talisman, where you can kind of tell when someone has input on the entire soundtrack and not just the opening. But that reminded me of specials because that was one of the for Jujutsu Kaisen, their opening for the Shibuya arc. That was one that I never skipped because especially as the arc got more and more dramatic, it was like, oh, these scenes that are happening in the opening are starting to make sense and align with what's happening in the anime right now. And so it got you hyped for the next episode because it was all like that slow build up to everything's changing and everything's getting bad and things are going terribly.
Right.
So, and I think the opening did a good job of like slowly twisting and portraying that that's what's going to happen this arc.
I like that makes me think about Death Note because I think Death Note does something very similar where you have the first
Death
opening.
Note?
Somebody say Death Note. I don't even know what that is. I ain't got no book. I ain't got no book. Hey, but with Death Note. Wait, listen though. With Death Note, I like that the first intro. They're both rock, but the first, now I don't understand the lyrics of the song, obviously, but I can kind of get like vibes off of the way it's being sung and the visuals that's showing up in the first. And it really looks like a clash of ideologies, and there's a lot of L versus Light type stuff. But when they get the second intro, and it's just like full on screamo metal, and it just shows how twisted Light has become. I really like that because it really evolves with Light's descent throughout the series, right? So I really appreciate when intros tell the story or like just match the theme of whatever's going on in the story beats.
What's up, PNP fam? Thanks for watching and staying tuned into our content. While I've got your attention, I want to remind you guys to like, follow, subscribe, share, all the things with our content. We know you guys love it, so you may as well just hook us up a little bit. Share it with your friends. Come join our Discord, get to know us a little better, play some games on a Friday night together. We want to connect with you guys. So please don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and join the Discord when you get a chance. Back to the video.
I am trying to find, and Mars helped me with this because you can probably, we talked about it, but I cannot remember how the pronunciation of the anime. But it's the one where it's like he's the old I think he's a Chinese legend, right? Like the whole series is based off of music, right? Every episode, like what song is she gonna perform? Are they, and then they got the freestyle, and I don't know what in the world, nothing rhymed to me, but it makes sense probably in Japanese. And as you guys know, I don't do the subtitles. So but every episode you were like, okay, this character, what is their vibe? What's their genre? But it was based off of music, and you kind of knew when you saw that particular character, it's finna go down. They have a great vibe. Or they finna come with a new song. There was a character, like for me, the freestyle battle, the rap battles in that song, in that series didn't catch me, so I was kind of like, I could kind of fast forward past these. But all like the singing and the different characters and the bands, I was really like, I dig it, I give it that.
Your boy Kung Ming, that's what it's called.
Excuse me?
Your boy Kung
I've heard
Ming.
about that. Your boy.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah. It follows Zhuge Liang, but if he got pulled into today.
Do you remember when the English version of anime would like have a completely different soundtrack, either like the whole show soundtrack or just the intros? Because I remember that era and it was comedy.
Yeah, that was back when they couldn't get like licensing for things. I think it was a mix. I think for some they couldn't get licensing for music. 'Cause I was just reading about, this is real quick, video games, but related, Yakuza 0, when they first released it over here, they couldn't get licensing, so all the music was replaced. And with the director's edition, they were able to like actually license all the music from Japan, so the soundtrack is completely different. And that happened a lot with anime too, where it was like, oh, we can't get all the licensing in place, so we'll just replace it with, I don't know, some Beatles song but instrumental, and no one will ever notice. So I feel like we're getting better with that now. But then I also feel like there were some things that I would read about, like, oh, the American audience might not like the way this instrument sounds.
Unacceptable.
So maybe they do better with just rock. It's the same reason why Brock was eating, what did he say, a donut when it was clearly
Yeah, gotta
over
have these donuts. I love donuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, these poor
Those
unrefined Americans won't like violins.
Those uncultured Americans, they won't know what
But-
they're hearing.
But
Toilet Bound does that too. There's a big emphasis on the word donut when it's not a donut, and that makes sense. I just thought it was that show. I didn't know it was a culture thing.
yeah, it was like a culture thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But when you brought up Pokemon, that made me think, and I was like, if there was one good thing that came out of that, it is the original Pokemon theme song, because that thing is just legendary.
Yeah,
Like,
that was
you
back in
hear
a
that-
time because
you
I was
get
just
it.
thinking
Good
about
with that.
this. I was just thinking
Oh, you
about this.
wanna
That was
be the
back in a
best
time
friend
when like
Pokemon.
the music that was like coming out from certain anime that was like in a certain demographic. It was like, I don't know. Some of it was just like a little bit more in touch with like that era of like youth. For instance, the Digimon movie like soundtrack, it was always dope. Like it was always like just what was like on the radio, what we were listening to. Like they had the ska, you know, the hey Digimon,
Yeah,
hey Digimon.
hey,
Like, I
Digimon.
was just like, you know, I was super hyped. It was really cool. So like Pokemon did that. I think even Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't even remember what the Yu-Gi-Oh! Theme song was, but I remember liking it.
Jabu.
Ja Rule! Yeah.
You go.
But it was like,
I'm
yo,
gonna go old school.
I don't know. I am curious to know, and maybe somebody can tell me in the comments, but I'm really curious to know what, like, if that was the real original, like, intro, or if it was changed. Because I know sometimes it was changed, but I wonder if, like, which ones it was the actual Japanese intro to, and it was just, like, fun and a melding of culture and stuff, and the sounds.
But I do think
like,
that's interesting too, because there is the difference between like replacing something because you didn't have like licensing or something like that with something generic, and then taking the opportunity to create something that really matches the theme of wherever you're kicking. Like even Dragon Ball Z, right? I know for a fact the original Dragon Ball Z opening is not the one we got, but I like ours. Dragon Ball,
Rock the Dragon Ball Z.
Ball Z, right? Like that was the one. And I know that wasn't the one that was in Japan, but I was like, no, that's the one I rock with.
Yo,
So-
the original Dragon Ball GT opening, man.
You know
The
what, you
English
need to
one.
put- I don't
Welcome
know
to the
what
Grand Tour. A brand new adventure
yeah.
begins.
I was like, we had Jay-Z on Dragon Ball GT for some reason.
Yeah.
Is Transformers considered anime?
At times.
Yes, technically.
Mm.
Yeah,
Like
it depends
the
on which
old
one.
Because
it's a cartoon.
It's a
And that
cartoon. I
movie-
think. Well, they've had a few Japanese studios make some of their stuff, but I think it's American property merchandise.
okay.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Transformers is a song that's
Hasbro.
always, you always remember that.
Robots
But
in
we didn't even
disguise.
talk about, we didn't get to this in the gaming, but this crosses over for anime and gaming. Sonic. Duh, legendary. They kept the same song in the games and the show. Dun, 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 dun,
That's
dun,
true.
dun,
Yeah, like
dun,
the-
dun,
yeah.
dun.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
like,
and the Sonic X
Yeah.
theme song, I'm pretty sure there's two different versions of the Sonic X theme song. Gotta Go Fast is the American one. I've actually never
Gotta Go
heard the other
Fast.
one. Yeah,
Sonic X. Yeah.
yeah.
All of them were very catchy for the young American mind.
They were.
Yeah. Yeah,
I never
Yeah,
heard the
they're-
Japanese versions because
Yeah,
I
and
don't
I'm
need
pretty-
subtitles.
Well, and I think for some of those shows too. Well,
Okay.
Like,
I mean,
like if you get them before they're converted over or dubbed, you may catch a different
I was
version.
just wondering
of
about
things.
you listening in subtitles.
Well, I was just thinking that maybe they changed it, like for the original version, which would have subtitles,
yeah.
Mhm.
and then once it's dubbed, they may change the lyrics sometime.
okay, for sure,
know,
for sure.
Real quick though,
Um,
going back to what Loa you were saying about your boy Kung Ming and how you weren't really vibing with like the rap sessions
Battle
because
scenes. Mhm.
yeah, the rap battle scenes. And I was thinking about like how you can kind of translate that over, especially for those kind of scenes. And Carolyn Tuesday does a fantastic job. And I'm
Oh, good.
I actually
So
don't
good.
know if I think the Japanese versions do still have the same songs in that version, but that is something that I think did a really good job of bringing music into anime in a light where like that was the focus, like it was a music show. Yeah, they were like,
Mhm.
like the
Mhm.
story
Carolyn
was
Tuesday,
intertwined.
so good.
Which I like anime that have that are always bangers. They're always bangers.
Yeah.
And
Like, if they
even
can make
though
it-
Samurai Champloo didn't have it entwined as part of the storyline, it was very much so influential in how the story like played out, how it looked in front of you, the songs that would come on, or even the rapping bandit guys that would walk around just rapping.
Don't bust a tumor because it's only
Because
just
it's
a
only
rumor.
just a rumor.
Word.
Word.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's funny.
You know?
Ooh, bust a tumor.
Oh.
It's a rumor.
But I do think isn't Carolyn Tuesday the director the same dude that Samurai
I think
Champloo,
so.
right? Did I make that up?
I
yeah.
believe-
Oh, that's
okay.
that's
I'm
Heat.
pretty sure
That's
it
Heat.
is. Which
I
makes
don't
sense,
think I'm
but
not watching
That's
this.
all the same
Yeah.
one, right? That's all the same.
yeah, I think it is. Yeah, but I mean, like it is like Samurai Champloo. It is pretty intertwined with hip hop though. Like the transitions, like when they're going to a different, and it's like a little record scratch. Like they
Yeah.
still subtly.
There we
do
go.
that,
That's
like,
the whole sound design.
Ninja Bass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
everyone's watched
Yeah.
this but me. Let me write this down.
yes.
Yeah.
Write it
Go
down.
ahead and add that to the list.
Carolyn Tuesday.
Yeah. Carolyn Tuesday
Yep.
and Samurai Champloo both are great. But watch Carolyn Tuesday first.
I don't know how to spell that last word.
Carol and
Oh,
Tuesday.
not that one.
Not that
Cam
I
Blue.
would take
Yeah.
off
Yeah.
Cowboy
Yeah.
Bebop. I'd take off Cowboy Bebop.
You gotta watch
What was
it.
the other one?
Bebop's a
Yeah,
great
Samurai
one.
Just send it.
Champloo. Yeah, I'll send it to
Send it to
you.
me.
I'll send it in chat.
Send it to me.
Cowboy
I'll
Bebop
take
also
up
has some
10 minutes
fantastic
when it's
music.
going.
I am more partial to Samurai Champloo, but also if you
Yeah,
like Space
Samurai Champloo
Cowboys,
was great.
I love them all
Then,
equally.
yeah.
You know what makes me
Mom.
nostalgic is like when I'm watching older anime. There's two things I like when I'm watching older anime. Either when it has like the Japanese city pop music as the opening, that's always a vibe. Or when there was always a very specific ballad type of opening that they had with like the woman singing, and it was just like the dun 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 dun. Yeah, I was like both of
Yeah.
those just take me back to a certain time. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Yeah, I've been listening, rewatching these Slayers DVDs, and that's something that I'm like, this is a very specific kind of opening that you don't
Mhm.
really hear in anime anymore. But I love it. It made me go back
Like
and
Sailor Moon, Yu
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I don't
Mhm.
remember Sailor Moon. But I used to like watching it, but I don't remember the theme song.
See,
Actually,
now
Sailor
it's
Moon
your
is
time to go
another
back.
One, but
I ain't
Sailor
going back
Moon's
to Sailor
another
Moon.
one that
That's
has
too
an
deep.
English opening that's different than the Japanese one.
Mm.
She is the one named Sailor Moon. Is
Yeah.
not the Japanese opening to that song, but I think it has a
Wow.
similar beat. At
Yeah.
least, like same thing to Smile Bomb, running through the town. Like it's the same beat in Japanese. Yeah.
I will say, I know this group is full of
Not us
One
catching
Piece
a vibe
haters.
off of it,
No,
off of the
okay,
songs,
yo, why are we
but
both about
One
the
Piece-
transition there?
Yeah, One Piece does a really good job
Y'all
with
were in sync.
incorporating music, and I know One Piece does a really good job at incorporating music and how it influences the show, how it's part of the show. I mean, even as far as Brook, yo ho ho ho, ho he has his whole little song. But
One
there's a
Piece
lot
also
of
Majima.
had a different, like, American one when it first came out too.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Because there used to be 4 kids.
Yeah, yeah.
hey.
That
Shout out
was-
4
that
Kids for
was-
bringing us some of the
that one was
corniest
Kind of cheesy,
English.
but it was dope.
yeah.
Yo, 4 Kids was a staple.
4 Kids for.
Yep, yep.
But
Yeah.
go ahead and finish what you're saying, Cobra.
Yeah,
Oh
my
no,
bad.
that I was just saying that.
Gotta get
I
it
mean,
done.
even as far as the openings and how the openings transition, or bringing back the first opening, but having it sound a little different, like a remix of it. I think they do a
Right.
really good
Mhm.
job with the music in One Piece.
Yeah,
That's
And
good.
it's like really meaningful to the plot and how they illustrate the story, which is what I wanted to ask you guys about, which was what's an anime that you guys feel the music helps illustrate the story and like illustrate what's happening on screen. And I was going to use One Piece as an example because I know One Piece has a lot of tenure But even from the beginning, like if you watch the first few seasons, you can hear like where they have their like One Piece orchestra. You could tell like they arrange the music in very specific things. So it's like every arc you get introduced to like new music, and then they also use music from the old, like their scared sound or the mystery sound or the angry sound or the party sounds. Like they use that over time, and it's so dope because it all even ties into the cultures that they go through, because you know they travel to a lot of different islands, so they get to play around with lots of different music culturally in the real world. So they get to use those songs too later when they go to flashbacks or when characters start reappearing, and it helps give a nod. Like there's like so many times in that anime where they'll play a sound and it'll be tied to a character or a specific event or something like that, and you'll think about it while you're seeing what they're showing you, and it actually matters in a couple episodes when you're watching, like, whoa, okay, then they reveal that. And even now
the music from when
they're
this
intertwining and they're intertwining certain, you know, like ancestral tribal sounds with Luffy and his transformation, and which is really cool because of what it represents, liberation and freedom. I won't go too hard, but I wanted to know what you guys felt, because I think One Piece does a really good job of using that music to help illustrate the story and connect you to it sonically.
Yo, that's dope. I mean, obviously, y'all know I'm gonna say JoJo. I'm a big fan of JoJo's sound design as a whole.
They do really good.
But I think, I mean, you can look at part 3 with their global travels and how the sounds kind of like slowly pivoted to change depending on which regions they were in. But I think I also wanted to just go to part 6 specifically, and how they use a lot of like violins and organs every time Poochie was around, because they wanted you to feel the vibe of this church figure who is extremely powerful but also scary. And so they use these instruments to indicate fear, but to also to indicate power. And I think about when Poochie made his very first appearance, and you hear his iconic melody right there. And as he gets stronger and stronger, you hear that theme, but there's more and more instruments to it. As he gets stronger, they just make the song more and more intense throughout the series until he reaches his final status and what he can do with everybody.
That is true. And it's such a subtle, like, you noticed that. I didn't notice it. Well, I'm not a Poochie fan either. It kind of annoyed me. But the fact that you noticed that gradual change is amazing. Now I have to kind of go back.
Yeah, you got to go back. You just got to look at how much of a minister.
And now I got to start paying attention to everyone's song. Like, does this one change too?
Yeah. Once you hear it, you're going to be mind blown. Who else?
I was gonna say ReZero does too. You know, we recently rewatched like the first and then the third season, and like I think, even though I have my thoughts about that anime, like the music that they had and like the direction of it and when they use certain sounds was really impactful. I can't say I remember too much of it, but I remember feeling moved by them, the surface level of my viewing.
That's fair. That's fair.
Does anybody else have any other anime examples? Oh, you had yours? I
was trying to think, because like I was leaning on JoJo as well. I think Full Metal Brotherhood also does a pretty good job with sound design and those pivotal, important moments. They do a really good job of, I think, making the music heighten an experience without overtaking it. Like I think a lot of times with shonen, the music or someone's theme, like even going back and mentioning Bleach again, but sometimes the theme like can sometimes overtake the entirety of the scene. And I think Fullmetal does a good job of doing the opposite of that, where it's used to highlight. Or yes, My Hero, or da 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 da. You know, like sometimes you don't need all of. Like you don't need all of that. And I think Fullmetal does a really good job of like, there's music going on in the background, but it's really just to like enhance what's about to happen on the screen. So and so is about to get stabbed in a phone booth. You know, that kind of thing. Sorry.
Why do Full Metal fans love bringing up traumatic scenes?
That's because that's all there are.
No. There's one specific scene that Full Metal fans like bringing up. Y'all need help.
What is it? Tell me.
We'll post the image on the video, on the final edit.
That's for you to find out. That's for you to find out.
Dun, dun. Okay.
Well, I think we
I don't know why
can
then.
continue to go on. Yeah, I was like, I don't know why we're getting superhero music on the way out.
Actually, Trigun. No, I'm like,
And another one, Outlaw Star. No, but yeah,
Yo.
no, there's like I think a lot of anime
Outlaw Star
that
is
we could
crazy.
call out for this kind of thing. Look, I love what is it, Through the Night. Anyway, but without going on another tangent. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Let us know what anime music like really speaks to you. It could be whatever. Just don't say My Hero. Like, I don't know who you are in the comments. Don't do it. But if there's any other anime that really speaks to you, throw it in the comments. Hop in our Discord, our Instagram, wherever you Twitch. Not Twitch. Yeah, Twitch. That's what I meant. But hop in, check us out, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Hey.